Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm back once again. It's Robert Phoenix. A little bit after the top of the hour, getting a bit of a late start today. Man, I tell you, this moving thing has really exhausted me. That's the word I'm looking for. It's been a, kind of intense, I have to say, but good intense, and making some much needed lifestyle changes. And I did something revolutionary, something incredibly revolutionary, radical. I got a box spring for my mattress. It's changed my life. It's totally changed my life. So before I had one of those frames that supported the mattress, and I have one of those kinds of it's a knockoff of a Tempur-Pedic kind of thing, right? But the frame was quite low to the ground, and so I'd get out of bed in the morning, and I'd have to almost like do a squat to get up out of bed. Which it's okay, whatever, right? Not a huge deal. But I decided that I wanted to, number one, get up off the ground a little bit, and then number two, have a little extra cushion underneath my mattress. So I bought a box spring. They had a sale on box springs at Big Lots. By the way, Big Lots is one of my favorite stores. I absolutely love Big Lots. I've had a love affair with Big Lots now for about the last 6 years. And when I was living in Austin, I was really bummed that the Big Lots down the road from my house went out of business, because you can find some interesting shit at Big Lots, some good deals every now and then too, right? And of course, they have people that actually work there and have jobs there, so I kind of like to support those places. It's a quaint notion. So I grabbed a box spring from Big Lots. It was only $90. Brought it home. I also got a new bed frame. So I got the bed frame. I got the box spring. I got the mattress. Man, I'm like, I don't know, 2 feet closer to heaven now with that thing. It's amazing. And I slept like a rock last night. I mean, just like deep, deep, deep rock like dream like sleep. Not great dreams, by the way. But that's okay. That's a different story. But yeah, there you go. I'm making some just fundamental changes. It's a good time to do that, right? It's a really good time to do that. We have a lot going on astrologically. The nodes have shifted with the true node in Gemini. Movement is afoot. Movement, change, all those things they're all in motion right now. And wherever you can bring movement and change into your own life, I think it's a good thing, right? It's a very good thing. So anyway, we're here, and I'm going to be here for probably about the next, I don't know, 40 minutes or so, because I got to go jam and do something this morning at 10 a.m. Again, more kind of move related shit, but we're getting the systems down. Let's see who's in chat today. We have Steve. What's going on, Steve? And Isla and Judy and Tamara. There's Mary. Hey, Mary. Let's see, everybody. Lots of loud thunder in Georgetown. Whoa! I'm telling you, man, the storms this weekend. We had a thunder crash go over the house. It sounded like a bomb. There's Joan W. Good morning, Joan W. And let's see, Temperance 1111. Hi there. Snake Jones in the house. Marie Olmstead, Joe Mama, Natasha. Good morning. Laura Smith and Wesson in the house. We got Marlene. Hey, Marlene. Big Lots down the street from me. I'm a Big Lots fan. I'm just, there's a part of me that likes to support that kind of commerce. Let's put it that way. Joe Dimitri, Jolie. Hi, Jolie. Frank Bry, Uncle Glenn, Maury, Dawn, and I say good morning from Spring, Texas. Man, I want Maury's life, man. Maury gets to cruise around. Hi, Amanda. Good morning. Maury gets to cruise around. Kristen. Hey, Kristen. Nice to see you. Sue C. Escobar. Hi, Sue. Welcome. Who else we have? Catherine Kingsmill. Big Lots is awesome. Also moved same weekend. but not yet to, okay. Well, congratulations on your move. Ani Brito, the wench with a wrench. The other sheriff in town is here. President accounted for. Urat. Hi, Urat. Good to see you. All right. We got some peeps, some peepage watching. Good. Got a few things to cover today. I want to talk about the mask situation, which is starting to ramp up. And a few other oddities and irregularities that we're going to have to be dealing with here as America theoretically opens up again. So let's do a little bit of an invocation here. Dear blessed and holy Father, Mother God. Father, Mother God, right? We got both here. We're not just talking the great big Father in the sky. We're not just talking about Mother Earth or Gaia. It's the together, right? The bridging of duality, the masculine and feminine forces of the universe that cohere all of our atoms, our subatomic and molecular structure. Dear blessed and holy Father, Mother God of the great central sun, the great central sun. It is the sun that burns within each and every one of us, right? The inner light within, the logos, that is the great central sun. Dear blessed and holy Father, Mother God of the great central sun, within the universal light, that means it's available to everyone. Yes, everyone. Dear blessed and holy Father, Mother God of the great central sun, within the universal light, which is the light of Sananda Yeshua Emmanuel. We give thanks for this day, and we ask that only the highest and best information and truth and wisdom come through this channel at this point in time for each and every one of us. That means everybody watching, everybody listening, whether it's live or after the fact, you are a channel and you are a vessel for the very same intelligence and love and wisdom and logos. We ask that only the highest and best come through for each and every one of you as well. Okay. And as we do so, that the karmic residue that each and every one of us might have, that it is cleansed, purified, clarified, and removed so we can enter back into our lives as sovereign entities. So be it. And that is the invocation of the day, right? That works. Let me get my last little sip of coffee here, and we'll get right into things. All right. So the mask thing is really heating up. I tried to find this video, and I can't find it anymore. It's kind of been scoured a bit, but I did send it to a number of people last night, and it's on my cell phone, and I don't have the messaging set up on my computer yet to grab it. But essentially, I'll lay it down for you. There's a woman inside of, I believe it's a Publix, Publix. It's a grocery chain in the East Coast. Many of you in the East Coast are familiar with this store. We don't have Publix here. And after watching that video, I'm kind of glad we don't have Publix here. So this woman is inside the store. She does not have a mask. And she is converged upon by at least 6 people, led by the lead Karen, who's yelling at her to get out of the store because she doesn't have a mask. And all these masked people decide all of a sudden that they're going to descend upon her and unleash their terror, their fury, and their sanctimony upon this one unmasked woman. Okay, so this mask thing, it's going next level. Mask versus unmasked, next level, right? So if you live in an area where the stores are either suggesting or even demanding that you wear a mask and you don't want to wear a mask, I would suggest that you don't go alone, all right? Because she obviously was this lone target. And these mask wearers, 6 or 7 strong, all decided in that weird moment to just gang up on her, okay? So if you're going to go to a store and not wear a mask, don't go alone. Make sure you at least have 2 or 3 other people that are mask free, because you know what? Then those other people, theoretically, who are going to come after you because you're not wearing a mask might think twice about it, right? They might think twice about it. You know, they were just being fucking bullies. They were just bullies. And yeah, we have to understand that a lot of people, and I touched on this a little bit on Sunday night when I talked about the guy who was wearing, the flame green shirt that said, what was it? Port whatever strong, some port town in Texas, Port Aransas, or I don't know what it was, but it was a town in Texas, Port Arthur, one of those ports. And he was wearing his mask, right? And it was like this guy now has an identity. He's got an identity. He's got a uniform. He's set. Okay, so there's this kind of mindset that is infiltrating people's consciousness. And for some people who feel just incredibly powerless, come on, let's go. Get over here. Your fans have been asking for you. No, you don't have to go over here first. Come over here. Just right here. You know how to do this. You've done this before. It's right here. Come on, let's go. One more. It's right there. That's easy. Look who's back. Making his debut in the new studio, 15 Minutes of Flame. It is the Astro Cat himself, Jasper. Whoa, I got you covered, Jasper. Don't worry about it. There he is, on time. I told him this morning, I said, look, man, you got to get back out there. Your fans have been asking about you. And he listened. Jasper's the best, isn't he? He's just the best. Just a little tilt screen down. This man. There he is. Look at that guy. Yeah. He's the lion. He's the Lion King. I love that cat. All right. So these people now, right, they have this group mindset. You ever see that short film? I think it's called, what is it, The Stoning or something like that? The Lottery. It's called The Lottery. And it's about this woman. It's about this town in the Northeast. It's a really creepy. They showed this film to us when we were in junior high school. Okay. I saw this movie in junior high school. And I think I might have been in the 7th grade or something. It's called The Lottery. I think it's Shirley Jackson, I think, wrote this thing. And it's about a town in the Northeast. And they have a lottery each year. And whoever pulls the bad straw or whatever gets stoned. They get pilloried by all these stones. And everybody in the town just goes nuts. And they go after with a rage and a fury, right? They go after this person. They stone. I saw this in the 7th grade, and there were some things going on in my head when I watched that movie in the 7th grade. First of all, I was like, why the fuck are they showing this movie? Why are we being shown this movie? Right. And then it was I thought in some ways it was kind of cool, right? Because it felt like we were watching kind of a horror movie that I'd watch on Friday night with my father on creature features. It was very bizarre, but it's kind of like that. It's that kind of consciousness, right? That woman's number came up in the Publix, and all of a sudden everybody was stoning her. 2 minutes of hate. And people are being programmed now to turn on one another. And the mask has been the demarcation, right? Mask versus non-mask. Lockdown versus non-lockdown. You can just see who's on what side of the fence. The people that want the lockdown to continue are people that have a lockdown mindset. People that want to open things back up have an open mindset. It's really that clear, that simple. But the social engineering, if I'm one of the social engineers and I'm watching that video, man, I am just thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled that people are doing this to one another. And it's unfortunately, it sucks. It really, really sucks. Because it's clear that we're not in this together. And whatever this is not the same sort of it, right? It is not the same it. All right. There's a lot more going on with the mask situation. Apparently, Antifa, the original mask wearers, are now, guess what? They're getting into the game because they think that people, of course, should be locked down and they should be wearing masks, just like Antifa. And I know a lot of you made the connection early on that, well, gee, guess who else wears masks? Antifa wears masks. Of course, Antifa stands for antifascisti, right? That's what it stands for. Getting its roots theoretically in Europe. By the way, a lot of the commies, the English commies were, and even somebody like Hemingway, they were so anti-fascist. I hate these little windows, by the way. These little windows suck, man. They just pop up down all over everything. You get a screen and there's a window here, there's a window here, there's a window here. You can't even read the damn story anymore. Anyway, here we go. This is the headline. Let me bring it back here. Antifa protests against ending lockdown in Germany. Okay, now we can see who is on what side. The lockdown tends to be leftist / communistic / antifascistic or Antifa. There's Andy and Gao. This guy was the guy that got concrete sprayed in his face in Portland. Police in Hamburg, Germany had to use water cannons to disperse a violent Antifa protests that mobilized to oppose calls to lift restrictions. So here's where the revolution, this is where the action in the streets is going to take place. Mask versus non-mask, lockdown versus non-lockdown. The protesters who were permitted to be out were obeying social distancing protocols and asking that the government make testing more available as opposed to keeping everyone quarantined. But and that's a weird kind of double gambit. It's like, okay, well, we'll agree to, just end the quarantine, but we'll take your damn test. All right, what happens after that? After you take the test, then what? Then you take the vaccine? Line in the sand, people, line in the sand. But it did not take long before Antifa counter-protesters took to the streets to, ironically, the side of the government. Oh, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Should we watch a little of the action from Germany here? See what happens. I click that button. Probably won't get the sound, but it's okay. You see the water cannons being dispersed. They're lucky it's just water cannons. And then the original mask wearers, Antifa. And these guys are wearing the face shields. They do look like the Spaceballs characters, don't they? Total Spaceballs characters. There you go. Not real thrilling or scintillating, but let's see if we got any more action here. Hold on. Getting involved. Okay. What else do we have? Anything else here? Sorry about that. Get a little glitchy on this side of things. But you can see how this thing is lining up and getting separated and parsed out. Now Antifa's in the game. And it's like, they're going to, this is so funny. How many Americans wearing masks are going to support Antifa now, right? It's almost like they're being introduced to Antifa. Yeah. Right. They're being initiated. Antifa's membership just got bolstered and strengthened by a few million people, simply by people wearing masks. They become Antifa by default. It's not going away, okay? This thing is not going away. It is not going to go away. We're going to be dealing with lockdown versus non-lockdown. Now, Trump has decided to pump the brakes now for another 2 weeks, although he is demanding that all churches be opened. Now, is this because Trump has a deeply religious and Christian vein running through him? I mean, he's been hanging out with Paula White. Paula White does not strike me as being a quote unquote good Christian, right? She basically has said, I shake my ass for God or something like that. Whatever. I mean, people can change. People can have a moment of clarity. People can, touch the light, as it were. But I'm not convinced that Paula White is the lighthouse of spirit and faith that Trump really needs to be surrounding himself with. That's another story. By the way, she's married to Jonathan Cain, who's the keyboard player from Journey. So she married a rock star. It's weird, these kind of rock star DC marriages. Well, she's not DC. She is now, though. And Jonathan Cain cut his teeth with a band called The Babies. The Babies, which I always thought was a weird name for a band. Although they did make a few good songs with John Waite as the lead singer. The first time that I saw you, you were down and out. There ain't no doubt. Anyway, yeah, so Trump has said, hey, look, we got to open these churches up. We've got to open these churches up. People need to get back to church. I mean, some of it has to do with the fact that, there is an evangelical vote that Trump is trying to court here. And look, it is the game of politics. I don't, there's, I make no, there's no, let's put it this way. I am not somebody who is, I'm not somebody who's naive. Okay. The world works in very real and gritty terms in a lot of ways. Right. So whether you believe in elections or not, this is what Trump is trying to do. Trump is trying to make sure that he stays in touch with that vote, right? Okay. So, guess who has openly defied the president? It is the new star of the New World Order. You know who I'm talking about? I'm talking about Mayor Beetlejuice. Mayor Beetlejuice will do anything. She will do anything. And she will do it gleefully. Chicago Mayor Lightfoot defies President Trump, sends armed police squad to shut down Black Baptist Church in Southside Chicago. Well, you want the black vote to switch and flip its allegiance from one side to the other. Lori, you're doing a really good job there. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot lashed out at President Trump on Friday as foolish after he deemed all churches and synagogues and places of worship as essential. Lightfoot says President Trump has no power to override her local lockdown on churches and businesses. Chicago police finding 3 churches last weekend for holding worship services. Southside churches cheered President Trump's announcement on Friday. These people are playing right into his hands. Right into his hands. Courtney Lewis, the pastor, Cornerstone Baptist Church of Chicago, was in the middle of his sermon when he heard loud banging on front doors. It was the police, and they were denied entry into sanctuary, according to Todd Starnes. Mayor Lori Lightfoot had dispatched 3 squad cars, not cards, cars, and 2 unmarked cars filled with armed officers. A representative from the mayor's office was also present. How about that? Very important official business there. I warned Americans in my new book that the left would try and shut down American churches. Click here, blah, blah, blah. Pastor Lewis said the intent was to shut down Sunday services. It was like the Soviet-style KGB. Well, that's right, because that's what they want to do. They want to employ these Soviet-style, Chinese-style rules and regulations where religion is the opiate of the masses. So Mayor Beetlejuice has openly defied Donald Trump. And as a result of this is alienating a certain segment of sort of the black vote or the black population. Okay. Now, I'm sure there's another part of the black population that is cheering her on, right? These are the same people who don't give a shit about what Joe Biden says. And I've seen their posts on Twitter, by the way. And they're like giving her huzzas. So now we have a divide and conquer even within the black community. It's not just white versus black or mass versus non-mass. Now we're segmenting out various communities. And this thing is getting fractal now. The separation game is getting fractal. And that's where it gets really tricky, right? Because You can see, well, okay, well, this person is a millennial or not a millennial. This person's a boomer or not a boomer. This person's a mask wearer or not a mask wearer. But now in your own community, we've seen this for a while now, that it's like all of a sudden, who is this person? Can I trust this person? They may have my same skin tone, but I don't know where their relationship with God is. I don't know where their relationship with the church is. They may actually want me to not be able to go to church. How can I trust that person? Right? So what we've done is we've created a very low trust society, taking us right down into that first chakra again. Survival, mask, and hang out for the vaccine. It is the lowest place we can be. The absolute lowest place we can be. They have reduced us, right? Think about like really primitive conditions. What are you doing? You're just surviving. You're just surviving. You're walking around. You're in a kind of a wild place, an untamed place. You don't know who or what you can trust. Can you trust that animal? Can you eat that plant? If you stumble upon another being, will they be kind and friendly, or will you be lunch? Right? You don't know. I mean, that's where this thing has taken us. It's taken us right down to that first chakra where everybody is a potential threat. Everything is a potential threat now. And it sucks. It totally sucks. They have taken us all the way back psychically, really, to the Stone Age for this thing. Because they want to break it down and then build it back up again. Who can you trust? Who can you trust? Who can you trust? Well, we'll show you can trust. You can trust us. Because we've got the plan, we've got the vaccine, we've got everything. Just trust us. You want trust back in your life again? We will be the purveyors and the sovereign commanders of trust. We'll help you build your trust right back up again. And guess what? Sure enough, soon enough, you'll all be trusting together. And guess who you won't trust? You won't trust the people who don't trust us. You won't trust them. Now, all of a sudden, you've got a kind of an attack force, which is already being formulated as we speak. By the way, I highly, 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 highly recommend James Corbett's 4-part series on Bill Gates. It's a must-see. He did a fantastic job. Absolutely fantastic job. The editing, the video, the information. We still need to know more about Bill Gates. My feeling is Bill Gates is kind of a version of George Soros. He's like a bag man. He's always been a bag man. That's what Bill Gates is. It's who's behind Bill Gates. It's who's behind George Soros. These are the people that we really need to understand and be able to shine a light on them. Bill Gates he's the errand boy. He may be worth billions and billions and billions, but that stuff doesn't happen without some level of enabling, right? Doesn't happen. You don't make that money without being a part of the club. And people say yes to being a part of the club, or they say no. And if it's a no, you are not part of the club. You're out. You don't get that money. You don't get to keep your money. We've seen this happen before. The guy that sold was it Victoria's Secret to Les Wexner? They ruined his ass. Totally ruined his ass. Read about that story sometime. And by the way, where is Les Wexner? Nowhere to be found, is he? Mr. Underground. Anyway, so you can't go now to a church in Chicago, apparently. Well, but if you're in Detroit or you're in Michigan, same thing. You can't go to a church there. But guess what Gretchen Whitmer has allowed people to do? You can go to a different kind of church. You can go to a gay swingers club. So Gretchen Whitmer, Governor Whitler, so Mayor Beetlejuice and Governor Whitler, she says, you know what, Carl Mankey, you can't cut people's hair, but a gay swingers club is essential. I'm not making this shit up. Look, if you're gay, you want to go to a swingers club, that's on you. All right? Swing away. Okay? Swing away. But come on now. You got people that want to cut hair, but you're not going to let them cut your hair. But this is okay. All right, what do we have here? Uh, this is perhaps nothing more. There's nothing more confusing than Democrat governor's orders during the Chinese Wu flu pandemic. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitler is by far the worst. That was made clear with the news at a gay swingers club with glory holes. You guys know what a glory hole is? It's a hole. It's a hole in a wall, right? Where as a man you would insert your member, and then somebody on the other side would anonymously take care of your member. That's what a glory hole is, right? Okay, here we go. Yeah, it brings up a weird memory for me. Weird story. All right, weird story from Robert's Fast. Here we go. Show divergence. So one time, I was managing this apartment building I was the recreation director at an apartment building in San Bruno, California, and you get to know I almost said inmates. You get to know the residents, right? So one of the residents I became friends with this guy that lived like right next to the rec center where I worked inside the apartment complex. He seemed like a pretty cool guy. Whatever. He's an army guy. He was ex special forces. And here's where it gets a little scary. He worked for Big Brothers, and he seemed like a pretty straight up guy. Whatever. So so one night, me and a buddy of mine and him, we went out. We had some food. And I'm like 20. I think I was 20 years old at this time. And so my friend splits. I go back to his place. We're drinking, hanging out, and he gets really shit faced. I mean, really fucking shit faced, right? And then he starts to tell these like really weird stories. And he pulls out this belt, and he takes the belt and he pulls the belt out. I think I've told this story before. And he's got this like scabbard thing right there, right between his knuckles. He shows me this. He says, "This is what I take when I go to San Francisco." Like, okay, cool, whatever. He says, "Yeah." Then he told me that he would go to the quarter video things, right? And then he would use the glory hole. He told me that he used the glory hole. It's just so weird. And he said, I don't mind if another man goes down on me, but I won't go down on another man. I'm like, dude, this is way too much. This is way too much information for me, right? So eventually, I leave. I go back home. This is on a Saturday. I come back on Monday to get my paycheck, okay? And I'm sitting in the office waiting for my paycheck. And all of a sudden there's like this buzz, right? This buzz around this guy who was actually an ROTC teacher at USF, and he didn't show up for work that day. It was on a Monday, and he's like totally Johnny on the spot, that he was that kind of guy. So they were concerned about him. They were very concerned about him. So me and the manager of the complex and one of the maintenance guys, we all go over there to his place. We knock on the door, and he answers the door, and he's in his underwear. He'd been on like a 3-day bender, right? So it all started when we went out and had Chinese food, but it did not stop. Apparently, it went on and on and on. He was like in the midst of some horror. This guy went to Vietnam, by the way, so I do have some compassion for the dude. But it definitely turned into a Colonel Willard situation very quickly. There we go. Page from my past. All right, gay swingers club is essential, blah, blah, blah. You get the story, right? I don't have to elaborate too much here. The FAQs also says there are glory holes. If you're blissfully ignorant what these are, don't Google it. And the response from the website says a maze is a network of paths and hedges designed as a puzzle through which one has to find a way. In our case, it is very dark and made with walls that have a few holes in them. Hoo-hoo-hoo. Anyway, this has been deemed essential by Governor Whitler. Apparently, we're starting to get the story. We're starting to get the picture. And it's a very dark picture, obviously. Very, very dark picture. So you can't go and have a church experience in Chicago. You can't get your hair cut in Michigan, but you can experience the glory hole through a maze, a magical maze. Weird. Okay. Now, if that's not enough, you got to have statistics, right? You got to have statistics to absolutely prove that this coronavirus is very real. It's very, very real. And if you don't have statistics to back it up, then you can't continue. You cannot continue to enforce these draconian measures that certain states are very intent on enforcing for as long as they can do it. Well, what the heck are they doing? Well, in Washington, they are padding the stats. Washington State counting gunshot victims among its coronavirus deaths. On Thursday, the Washington State Department of Health confirmed a report by the Freedom Foundation. They've included those who tested positive for COVID-19 but died of other causes. Of course, every state is doing this, including gunshot injuries in their coronavirus death totals. Now, there is an economic piece that goes along with this, right? Hospitals have been shut down. You can't do not been able to do elective surgeries. All the stuff that goes along with being a hospital, couldn't do it. So what did they say to the hospitals? Well, listen, you got a coronavirus victim. You get to check a box. You get more money. So they had to compensate for their surgeries that weren't happening, where they could make, as they say, a shit ton of money. So now they're going to just check the box. If he's sick, check the box. If it's remotely corona, check the box. We'll get more money. If they die of corona, we'll get even more money, right? So they're incentivizing these institutions. That's what's happening. In Washington State, of course, is no different, but they're more than willing to use the statistics to continue to stay under a formal lockdown until they, quote unquote, get a vaccine. So the stats are all there, right? 681, 82% list some variation in one of the causes of death on the death. That's a lot, 82%, right? 5% of the death certificates do not list COVID-19 as cause of death, but indicate there was significant condition contributing to the death. 106, 13% of the deaths involved persons who had previously tested positive but did not have the virus listed anywhere on their death certificate. So they're reaching. They're culling as much as they can. And by the way, have you noticed that now when anybody dies, and there are a lot of people that are dying, now when anybody dies, it's automatically assumed, whether they say it or not, that they've died of coronavirus. Like Al Kaline, who was a longtime, one of my first, baseball heroes growing up, died recently. And they didn't say it was coronavirus, but everybody that dies now, theoretically, they die because of coronavirus, even though it's not specifically stated that they've died because of coronavirus. Because we're under the cloud of suspicion with corona, it's like, oh, I bet they died of coronavirus. Well, that's just another death. That's just another death. And boy, they are more than willing to announce any single death that is even remotely related to any form of celebrity. So we are in some very interesting times, aren't we? But the light of reason, the light of truth, and the light of understanding is shining upon it all, and it's shining through each and every one of us. And that you are an absolute beacon. You are a lighthouse for truth. You are a recipient and a nodal point of logos to operate through you. And don't ever forget that, right? In the midst of your most vulnerable and most challenging times, know that a power greater than you surges through you, connects each and every one of us, okay? And together, we're going to get through this time, and together, we're going to have a new world. And it's going to be a better world, because the old world is over. That world is over. And now we're in the midst of a conflagration. We are in the midst of a turf war. It is a spiritual turf war. You got to know what side you're on, okay? And it's not a side that's based on hate. It's not a side that's based on any kind of prejudice. It's a side that's based on truth and understanding, gnosis, logos, and love. You're on that side. You'd be on the right side no matter what happens, okay? Just trust that. All right, I got to get out of here. Let me just check in with you guys again. Let's see what we got. Big Lots rocks. I know, man. Big Lots is the bomb. Love Big Lots. Okay, what do we have here? 160 watching, only 22 likes. Give Robert some thumbs up. Yeah, you can give me a little thumbs up. That'd be great. That'd be awesome. My husband stupidly shared on Nextdoor app. He'd been tested and showed past positive. He'd never been sick, but why the hell does he have to tell the Karens? Yeah, that is a bad move, man. Sorry, VV. Bad move. I think, how I would interpret that is that he's looking for sympathy, right? He's looking for sympathy. He's looking for compassion. He's looking for some kind of greater community. He's looking for community. He's looking to be kind of welcomed and hugged and whatever, right? Oh, poor guy, poor guy, poor guy, poor guy. Yeah, you don't want any of that shit to come out, right? You don't want any of that stuff to like be leaked out. Just keep it in house. Snake says my 9-year-old cut his knee real bad this weekend. Was able to stitch it myself. It's healing great, and he is safe from the testing. Good for you. Excellent. Excellent. Let's see. Think London Real channel is legit. This is a really good question about London Real, and I got to go because I got a 10 o'clock I got to run to. But Brian Rose was a big time like trader, right? He was a futures guy. He comes out of a very hardcore vulture capitalist background. Okay. We all have our points in our lives where we have affiliations that, we think about, we look at, and we can transcend them, right? Like I was really into like new age shit for a long time. I went to Findhorn, which was interesting, by the way. So that was a really, really big part of my life. And by the way, I did experience a lot of really high consciousness sort of peak moments during that time, but it's not a period I want to revisit now. I want to integrate it. I don't need to be there. So we all have parts of our past that, we look back and say, yeah, I went through that and I grew through that. So maybe that's what happened with him. He took a bunch of ayahuasca apparently, and which changed his life. And so now he's got this platform and has had this platform for a while. Like I first started to see his channel a little bit back in 2016 in the lead up to the election, but he's always interviewed like, high profile, high power players. And I don't know if he's legit or not in terms of where his loyalties are, where his consciousness is. I just know about his past. I know that he made some kind of a change. Even when he made the change, he was still interviewing vulture capitalist type guys. Okay. It didn't really seem to deter his interviewees. Although I think he had Tony Robbins on for a couple of shows, whatever. Right. But I don't know. He had Ike on, he had Andy Kaufman on, which seems to be the kiss of death because Ike's channel has been basically blocked and Andy Kaufman lost his job. So if you're planning on trying to spread your message at a higher level and you decide to take a pit stop on London Real, you may want to rethink that. I'm just saying, just looking at what's happened to a couple of people that have been there. Okay. I hope that answers your question. I'm out of here. I'll be back tomorrow. Use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to stay open to what's possible. Let's all stay open to what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. I'll be back tomorrow. Have yourself a blessed day. Take good care.